All right, so we are live. Happy to be back. Sorry about the little delay there. Just getting situated. Let's see here. Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. I'm happy to do another stream. I know it's been a while. It's probably been like over a month since I last streamed. So I'm happy to be back. Just wrapped up our block 2 exam on Friday, and it's been a couple of days of just kind of just relaxing and letting myself kind of just like de-stress. Definitely a lot of stress from this last block. It was pretty heavy, so I'm just happy to kind of be in deload mode. So this week I actually have pretty much off. We have what's called a wellness week, and it's pretty much just us doing a couple different lectures here and there on wellness and kind of mental health stuff in medical school, and then we could kind of use it to just do whatever we want, de-stress. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week. So it's something I'm really looking forward to, because I can't imagine if we had to just jump into another block right now. So something I'm looking forward to, and I'm happy to do this stream and have this stream for you guys. Hello, what's up, Savi? Yanni, hello. So we got 8 viewers in. So guys, let me know what's going on with you, kind of where you are in the journey. I like doing these I like doing these live streams just because it lets me get an opportunity to learn more about you guys, as far as just where you are in the journey, kind of connect with you, learn more about how you are. If you guys been keeping up with my channel, you've been seeing a lot of the live stream clips. Something I've been getting into lately. I've seen other different content creators kind of use that formula, kind of take long form content and kind of chop it up, and I think that people have been liking it so far, so I've been doing that. So this is an opportunity, if you want your question to be featured on my channel as an answer, there's another opportunity for you to get that in and ask me questions, get to know a little bit more about me. It doesn't have to be about school, it doesn't have to be detailed stuff about medical school. It could just be about personal stuff. So just ask away. So you must be a gunner to have time for this in first year. No, it's just time being it's just being time oriented, and just being having your priorities in check, I guess. I don't really make that much content during the week. Like I mentioned, I've been doing a lot of the clips and stuff, so I just find like a couple hours to do that stuff and edit those, and then I just set them to schedule them to upload throughout the week, so that I can stay on top of schedule and keep that content coming for you guys. I definitely don't see myself as a gunner. I just try to prioritize my time as much as possible. What's your favorite Jay-Z song? So Jay-Z is actually probably he's like the GOAT to me. So as far as rap, I think that he's the best rapper of all time. My favorite Jay-Z song is hard to say. It depends on the mood that I'm in. Let's see. My favorite Jay-Z song, probably anything off of Blueprint. Renegade comes to mind, obviously. It's so hard to say. I'd have to look through his catalog and give you a better answer. But Renegade probably is up there. What More Can I Say is up there for me. Just the beat. 99 Problems is up there. How much studying are you doing now? So I guess what do you mean in reference to right now, as far as like my studying, how many hours I study? It could definitely vary day to day. I definitely would spend probably like my whole day doing studying like material or med school related stuff. So pretty much like a 9 to 5 almost, where it's kind of like you get up in the morning, you're studying, you're going to lecture, or you're attending lecture virtually, you're attending whatever classes you have to attend, and then from there I'll just like either continue studying or prep for the next day or prep for something I have coming up. So it's constantly going. It's hard to put a number on it per day. I think it depends on how heavy my schedule is, how much stuff I got going on. But it's a lot. It's a lot. It never ends. I try to take at least one day off on the weekends if I can, but it's going. It goes for a long time, and that's something I'm just continuing to learn, trying to be more and more efficient, trying to get like more a balanced lifestyle. Salted Lamb, what's up? Thanks for coming to the stream. Do you get any clinical experience first year? Yeah, so we do get a clinical experience first year. The clinical experience that we get it varies. So right now, obviously, we can't do much clinical experience because of COVID. Right now in Philly, my school does not really allow us we can't really get into the OR. We can't shadow or do anything like that to get clinical experience, just because they're reserving that for the people that actually have to do those things, like third years, fourth years, and residents, obviously. So it's unfortunate that we can't really get clinical experience. There's other things that we could do that we would be able to do depending on the limitations with COVID. But without COVID, we would probably be able to shadow. We would be able to get into the OR. We would be able to do hands-on clinical experiences in different free clinics, different things like that. We also have certain clinical experiences built into the curriculum. So we have a clinical skills course that we take, and that helps us get clinical experience. It helps us practice different clinical skills exams, how to do a physical exam, in our second block, we just finished doing physical exams on the spleen, checking lymph nodes of the neck and the chest. So different things like that help get you clinical experience. We also have a clinical experience longitudinal track that allows us to kind of gain different clinical experience in that way. There's so many different ways we could get clinical experience based on my curriculum. It's just unfortunate that right now things are kind of slow with COVID, and we're not able to actually, optimize as much as possible, which is, it's kind of sad. What's up, King Zeph? Welcome. I know you and I spoke on that big exam recently, but I think that people should hear, how were your feelings going into it, and how are you coping afterwards while waiting for your grade? Yeah. So my feelings going into it, and we spoke about this, my feelings going into it, I knew that it was going to be a heavy exam. I knew that it was going to be kind of tough just because it was a lot of material. And so for you guys that probably don't know, my last block exam was on hematology and immunology. So we learned a lot about blood diseases, blood. We learned a little bit about cancer biology. We learned about viruses, bacteria, antibiotics for those things, fungi, HIV. So a lot of things dealing with blood diseases and infectious disease. And that's something that I'm not super strong in. I'm stronger in like physiology. I'm stronger in pathology. And because that was a lot of clinical medicine, and it was a lot of, blood and different things that I haven't really been exposed to, infectious disease, different things like that I haven't really, hasn't always been my strong suit. And I hate to use that as an excuse, but it just hasn't been something that I've naturally gravitated towards. So I knew it was going to be a little bit of a challenge for me to kind of just adjust to that and, to attack it head on, so to speak. So I knew that was going to be a tough exam. I studied, as hard as I could. Luckily, the exams are pass fail, so you essentially just have to pass it. And then if you pass it, then you just move on to the next thing. You're not really trying to get an A. If you want to get the highest grade for me personally, I try to get the highest grade that I can, just because you want to do well. You feel like you put in all this work, you put in all this studying, and you want to do well on the exam. You want to show that you have a certain mastery level of the material. But it doesn't always work out like that. And I definitely felt coming out of the exam that it was harder than I expected, harder experience than I expected. My exams are the written exams. We didn't have a practical this time around, but we do have a clinical skills exam where that's pretty much pass fail. We meet one-on-one with a standardized patient, and we interview them, and we do certain interviews based on the block that we're doing. So for this interview, we did the patient had symptoms of mononucleosis. So they had mono, and they were just talking about their symptoms, how they're tired, and on all these different things. You're supposed to interview them, get more information about their symptoms, and then we did a physical exam on their lymph nodes of the neck and their spleen as well. So that was the clinical skills exam, and then the written exams are 3 hours long. They're 120 multiple choice questions. Pretty much all of them are kind of like case vignettes that you have to kind of dissect and then find the answer. So it is definitely a long and strenuous, mentally draining exam. But it just gets you used to taking those long exams, things that we're gonna have to do anyway for our boards. So when I left, I definitely felt tired. I felt exhausted, as you should, after a 3-hour exam. But I think I passed. We'll see when we get the grades back. How diverse is your med class, and would you say you're comfortable being a minority in medicine at your school? Yeah, that's a great question. So my school definitely doesn't have the best reputation as far as diversity for Black students, at least. We have diversity in Asian students. We have a large Asian student population. I'm not sure the numbers on the Latinx students, but I know especially for Black students, we are typically on the low side, especially because we're such a big class. You would think that we'd have more. We should have more, but that's something that I definitely want to help with. And that's something that, as a Black student, showing that I'm going to this school and embracing it, showing that's a great place to get an education. I hope that in the future, I've already had different emails from people that applied to my school and are interested in my school, and that's from just YouTube and people seeing that I attend it. So I hope that inspires more people to come here. I think that I wouldn't have chose this school unless I was comfortable being here. And being a minority in medicine has always been something that has been tough for me to kind of embrace, just because although there are plenty of physicians that are minorities, there's not enough, and especially in the specialties that I've shadowed in, it's mainly white male predominant in a lot of these different surgical specialties, and the diversity is not necessarily there, and it's something that I'm pushing for, and I think that needs to be addressed and it needs to be emphasized. But I wouldn't come to a school where I wouldn't feel comfortable, and that's something that I was embraced with. Being at a school in Philadelphia, you're kind of forced to you're kind of I've talked about this in the past. You're kind of thrown into a situation where you're forced to learn cultural competency, and I answered this in a previous live stream. But my school, I think, has done a really great job so far teaching us that cultural and introducing cultural competency into our curriculum. And it's something that's definitely been emphasized. So seeing that and hearing about that in my interview has been something that really, made me feel comfortable coming here, although the numbers aren't there. So it's tough. And I've gotten a question about this before. It's like, how do you choose a school? How do you decide if the schools you want to apply to a school or attend a school if their reputation on paper doesn't show that they're full of minorities, or they emphasize minorities in medicine? And a lot of the times it's like, the school's name is Thomas Jefferson. I mean, you can look at that how you will. Sorry guys, I have to change my webcam really quick. My camera just turned off. Give me 1 second. All right, can you guys see me? I know this is a major downgrade. I have to use my webcam on my computer because my camera just died. But yeah, to continue answering that question, I think you're always going to challenge with minority being in medicine. It's just something that you have to fight with, and it's always an uphill battle. But you learn to kind of cope with it and improve over time, and kind of just keep fighting. All right, sorry about that technical glitch. I should have been prepared. But yeah, the appreciate you, Savvy. So continuing with these questions, these are great questions so far. Hopefully more next semester. Yeah, hopefully next year, next semester in the spring, they bring in some more of that stuff with clinical just experience, because that's something I feel like you kind of feel like you're missing out on your education when you can't when you can't get that in hands-on experience that you essentially came to a school for. What's up, Anonymous? With COVID, I'm sure you haven't gotten full feel for the campus yet, but what do you think of the campus, like the buildings, etc.? Yeah, so I've been able to actually get involved with my campus a little bit. I still have to go to school and to my campus for different things like small group, clinical skills. So, and I go to the library from time to time. So I do actually get to go to campus, and things on campus are open, but I haven't obviously gotten the full experience. But everything is good. I think I chose the school because it kind of gave me that campus feel. It kind of gave me that feeling of kind of like a college campus environment. It's not as big, but it definitely has multiple buildings. There's many interviews that I went to where it was essentially just one medical school building, and that was really it. But my school, we're fortunate enough to have so many different medical professionals attending the school, so we have a lot of different buildings. So I think there's probably like five or six buildings that we have to kind of jump from place to place. So there's a library, there's a building for classes, there's a bunch of buildings for classes, a bunch of buildings to study. So it's one of the reasons why I chose to come here, because it gave me a good feeling, just the environment. Great question so far. If you guys give me 1 second, I think I'm going to just step away, and I'm going to charge my camera because I want to get my other camera back on. So hopefully towards the end of the stream we could hop back on the other camera. So just give me 1 second. So has your appreciation for Meek Mill increased since you moved to Philly? I hear a lot of Meek Mill. I didn't think that it was going to be that hardcore with moving here, but I hear Meek Mill all the time. I definitely appreciate him more now that I'm here. Do you have you worked with cadavers yet? Not yet. So we're actually about we're actually about to get involved with cadavers, hopefully very soon. I think next block. So far we haven't been able to do cadaver dissections. We had anatomy in the first block. We didn't have any anatomy in the second block, but we had anatomy in the first block. And with that, it was very, very fresh. COVID was still kind of, a fear for a lot of people. They were still adjusting to everything. So we didn't have the chance to get into the anatomy cadaver dissection labs. We had to do virtual anatomy. Right now, they kind of introduced it for the second years to do anatomy pro section. So basically the teachers go in beforehand, they dissect, and then we kind of look at in small groups, look at the pro section to identify the anatomy that we need to learn. So that's what we're planning to do for cardio block, my next block. So I'm just looking forward to actually getting my hands in with the cadavers. It's something that I was looking forward to. Somebody that's interested in anatomy, so it's something that I was looking forward to getting involved with. So it was unfortunate that that we couldn't do it in the first block, but nevertheless, I'm gonna have plenty of cadaver dissections in my medical school experience, so I'm not really too worried. But next block we're going to have dissections, so I'm told. A senior looking to apply to medical school. Sell me your school. Tell me why I should go there. Have a few options in mind, and not sure where to go. Yeah. So if you are trying, so I guess it's hard for me to sell a school because a lot of the decisions I made to come to the school were based on my personal experience. With my interview, my personal experience, how I felt when I came here and I visited the city, when I visited the campus, how the students made me feel. One of the best things about my school is actually interesting because I'm a student interviewer, so I'm doing a student interview on Friday, this upcoming week, and I'm interviewing with a student. So I guess this is probably a question that they're going to ask me, but why they should come to the school is probably because the faculty is great. My small interactions with the faculty thus far, I mean, they've been super accommodating for us. All this stuff that's been going on with COVID, they've gone above and beyond to make sure that everything has been running smoothly as possible. There's some glitches in the system, but overall, they've been going above and beyond to try to make sure everything has been running smooth for us, and satisfying our needs as medical students. Another thing is that the people that come here, I think it's just my experience with my small group, my case-based learning small group has been phenomenal. They're amazing people. I think a lot of people here are amazing. I think a lot of the students here are great. And I think that that's one of the biggest selling points. The environment here, a lot of people are happy here. And that's something that a lot of students were telling me too when I was applying and when I was interviewing. A lot of students are happy here, and you get a great education. If you're interested in doing any specialty, they have so many connections. Jefferson is growing crazy. They're building a new building right now. They're buying up a bunch of hospitals and buildings. So they're expanding and they're focused on growth. They're focused on improving. They're focused on innovation. So that's one of the things that really attracted me to the school as well, just to focus on constantly growing, innovating, improving, the interprofessional relationships, building on the curriculum, constantly learning to the students and improving as things go on, and not just settling for the same old. That's the best sell I could give you. Speaking of diversity in medicine, which is clearly lacking in this country, are there any programs, organizations you are involved with that are trying to get more minorities interested in medicine? Yeah, that's a great question. So there are a bunch of different programs, and there's programs that people are creating themselves. There's programs that are established already. There's plenty of programs, and it's something that want to get involved with myself. Medical school, right now I'm really just trying to keep my feet underneath me. I don't want to spread myself too thin. I know that something I mentioned to you guys a while ago, or maybe in one of my vlogs or something, is just getting involved with research. And I see Olami asked me on that coming up, but so I wanted to get involved with research. That was kind of like my next step. Getting involved with a couple clubs of kind of like interest groups for like specialty interest groups, and then getting involved with some research and then expanding out from there. That's kind of my plan of attack. I don't want to spread myself too thin, but there's so many great opportunities as far as minorities interested in medicine. And for me, if there isn't one that I think is great enough, which I'm sure there's plenty, I'm more than willing to create something and collaborate with other minority students to make it happen. So that's something that I'm passionate about, and it's something that I want to get more involved with, but time is just very tight right now. but it's right there on the next thing on my list. Trust me. Of course, the salesman asks a question about selling things. Yeah, you just gotta have good grades are one thing, but I think one of the biggest things getting in here is fitting the culture. Once you get the interview, once you meet the minimum criteria, the world is yours. You just have to kind of make sure that you have the personality to fit the school that you're trying to get into. So, have you been able to get into any research? Have you been able to get into any research at school? So not yet. I'm fishing around. There's a couple different things that I want to do. So we actually have there's something called a scholarly inquiry track. Basically, it's a track that my school requires us to do where we do research and we do like a research project over I think it's all 4 years, but the first 2 years is kind of where we start and we get involved with it early. So I've been trying to find and identify my scholarly inquiry project and who I want to work with and who, what area I want to do it in and just the project I want to do it. I think I found a project, but it wasn't with my school. As I mentioned, as you guys may know, I did clinical research over my gap year. So I did clinical research and I was able to build a strong relationship with the surgeons there and even with the student that is currently there, the clinical research coordinator that's currently there. I've been working with him pretty much since I left, texting pretty much on a weekly basis, kind of working on projects. And there was an idea that I had about a research project that I originally had started before I left, and it just kind of dawned on me to do this project and with this practice, this orthopedic practice. And so that's probably what I'm going to do for my initial research project. And then I'm going to continue to add on different projects on top of that. I definitely want to get involved with research. It's something I'm passionate about and something that I enjoy doing. So soon. Again, the time thing is just tight. I'm happy that I have off this week, because this week I think I'm going to focus heavily on kind of catching up on a lot of that stuff and kind of reaching out to different people and following up on a lot of different research things as well. So thank you for asking me that. It just pushes me to continue to do it. Given your experiences thus far, have your motivations or your attitudes towards medicine changed compared to when you were a pre-med? Oh yeah, definitely. I think even when I was a pre-med in undergrad, prior to me graduating, and then once I graduated and I was working as a clinical research coordinator, working in a doctor's office for the first time, and then even to now, just my first few months here at medical school, you see medicine in a completely different light once you're actually in it. Once you're in medicine, that's the beauty of medical school, finding the right place to go to medical school, because once you're at that place, it just fuels that fire even more. I'm more motivated than ever to become a doctor, because I'm right there. I'm right where doctors practice. I see doctors all the time. Our professors, our physicians, they're teaching us actually clinically relevant things. They're putting clinical examples from their practice in their slides. They're telling us about, this is what you're most likely going to see if a patient presents like this. So you're getting closer and closer to your ultimate goal. So that's why for me, my motivation has never been stronger as a medical student now. What's up, Entitled Dreamer? Welcome to the stream. Have you created a sort of friend group with your school yet? Maybe study partners and so forth. What are your thoughts on pros and cons of creating those friend groups to kind of push each other? Yeah, I think so as an undergrad, I didn't really do much study group and group work. I had a couple of friends that were at the school, and I definitely made friends during my time, but it was something where I spent a lot of my time, isolated, kind of just focusing on my mission. I was so really self-driven at that time, where I was just like, here is the mission that I want to get to. I want to get to medical school. I'm so super driven. So I did a lot of the studying on my own. I was also a commuter, so I had a different life than a lot of the people that might have been residents at the school and lived in the dorms and different things like that. So the way I moved was kind of solo when I was in undergrad, and when I came to medical school, it's immediately you're thrown in and you're kind of forced to do group work. You're kind of forced to work in a team, and that's something that I enjoy. I definitely spend probably 90% of my time studying alone, but versus 98% before, now I'm like 98 and 10, or like maybe 80-20, where I'm spending time doing study groups. And I definitely have made friends here. Just my clinical skills, or not my clinical skills, my case-based learning group, we're the closest because we kind of talk to each other all the time. We talk to each other in group chats, and we also see each other twice a week. We're actually switching case-based learning groups, and so we were kind of like sad to see each other go, but we're still in the same group for like different stuff. But it's gonna be exciting now, actually meeting new people for the first time in a long time. So I get to meet new classmates upcoming this week, so I'm excited for that as well. So I definitely think that having friends is one of the most important things, because medical school is a tough journey, and it's a long grind, and you can't do it by yourself. And I don't recommend anybody to do it by themselves. So you need people to push you. Just this past week when I was studying, I teamed up with a couple of my CBL members just to kind of go over some pharmacology together, and it was just good to having that energy to bounce off of one another, because it's so important. Team and extras, throwback. Being in Philly, is it true Jim's steak is the best cheesesteak in Philly? Asking for a friend. That's funny. No, I don't think so. My personal experience has not been that. I don't think Jim's is the best. I had Jim's actually probably one of the first times I came, or one of the first weeks that I was here, and I was highly disappointed. It wasn't the best steak that I've tasted. I've tasted different steaks. I've tasted Ishkabibbles. I've tasted Jim's. I've tasted a cheesesteak spot at the wow, I'm blanking right now, at the Reading Terminal. So there is so many options, and I think that I just have to try them all to be able to give you an honest answer there. My friend who is a professor at Terence's school, his name is Dr. That's funny. Please, would you ever consider reading and giving feedback on my personal statement? Yeah, definitely. This is a good week to do it. I'm off, like I said, I'm off this week. And we have like a lot of downtime. So any other week, I probably would have told you that it might take me a while to get back, but this might be a good week. So my email is if you it's my first name dot last name 726 at gmail.com. If you also go to my channel and you go to if you go to my channel and you go to like the contacts or the information, you'll find my email, and you can just send me an email. Let me know it's you from the stream, and I'll be happy to look over your personal statement. Yeah, Instagram or email. Email is preferred, just so I can we could get right to it. Because if you just DM me on IG, I'm just gonna tell you to email me. Shout out Stony Brook Seawolves. Yes, sir. You're a commuter too. Thanks for the response. Yeah. Yeah. Commuters, it's tough. You kind of have to live. Luckily, my school was like heavily a commuter school, so I wasn't alone. But a lot of times with being a commuter, you're kind of you kind of feel ostracized because everybody else kind of lives that dorm life, and you're like traveling back and forth to school. What medical school do I attend? I attend Sidney Kimmel Medical College in Philadelphia, formerly known Jefferson Medical School or Medical College. What's your thoughts on Dr. Oz? Heard he's an Ishkabibbles guy too. I don't know about Dr. Oz's cheesesteak preferences, but Dr. Oz, I don't really have any opinions on Dr. Oz. I understand that some people might not like Dr. Oz or Dr. Phil. I mean, Dr. Phil is not. I don't think he's board certified anymore, but Dr. Oz, I think he is. I don't know if they practice anymore, but Yeah, I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself. There, everybody has their own lane. So if you're in it for entertainment, if you're in it for to be the face of something, might as well get your money. From Sam, what's up, Sam? For your case-based learning presentations, is it intimidating presenting in front of doctors and future doctors? That's a good question. So yeah, for my case-based learning presentations, we do have to present in front of our facilitators, which are doctors or PhD professors, and I guess it can be intimidating. But like I said, you build a relationship with your classmates, and one of the first things you kind of are taught is it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be unsure of yourself. So you kind of already open up yourself to being vulnerable when you're having these conversations with everybody. When you're trying to, asking questions, you're to find out more information. You're relying on your classmates to teach you things. You're relying on your other physicians to teach you things. So it can be intimidating at times, but a lot of the times it's kind of just us being able to teach one another. So we're not necessarily presenting for the doctors. They'll ask us questions here and there about our presentation to kind of further our knowledge, but we're mainly teaching to our peers and to our classmates. So it's kind of like if you're doing a presentation to one of your friends, you don't really feel intimidated by that. I personally don't. And if you prepare and you read up on what you're presenting, I think it helps, and it helps kind of relieve some of that stress and some of that pressure. But it could definitely, if I was presenting in front of a bunch of strangers, I definitely would be more nervous every single week than if I was presenting in front of my friends, which is essentially what I'm doing with my case-based learning presentations. That's a great question, Sam. Hey man, do you know of any international pre-meds personally that got into medical school? Personally, no, but I do know. I actually know of a friend of a friend who got into Harvard. He was an international med student. He got into Harvard on a full ride. So if he could do it, anybody could do it. When you become a doctor, how long will you work till you retire? I haven't really thought about that, but so I'm interested in orthopedic surgery, and from my experience with orthopedic surgeons, like it seems like they almost have to like have the scalpel ripped out of their hands to retire. A lot of them really work until they can't work anymore because they love what they do, and that's always my ultimate goal. Love what I do so much and build a working environment so fulfilling to me that I don't really want to retire. I feel a need to retire, or I feel a need to escape my job, where I want to go to work. I want to do these things. I think that the only thing that would slow me down is if it's detrimental to my health, or like I'm doing too much work and I'm in a bad health or physical state. But I can't see myself anticipating retirement. I don't really live my life like that. I feel like find something that you love to do, and kind of like you don't have to work a day in your life kind of approach to it. So I don't know. I hope I have a prosperous and long career. How did you build relationships with your professors to get a letter of rec? Also, how many letters of rec did you get? Yeah, so I think as far as relationships, I think that my letters of rec from professors actually came from professors that I had probably either multiple times, or I've known them through other things outside of just the classroom. So one of the letters of recommendations I got was from a professor I actually had in a bio lab. I think that I did well. I communicated with him well in the bio lab. He was actually a retired physician, or I think he was also a practicing physician, maybe a retired physician, and he just loved to teach. So he taught at a community college. He taught at my school. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to build that relationship. And I saw it as a good opportunity where it's like, all right, this guy's a former physician. He probably could write a good letter of recommendation. I was good in the class, and I participated in all those things. In the lab setting, it's a lot easier to do that because it's also smaller. So that's one of the ways that I built a relationship. I also got a letter of recommendation from another professor that I had, who was one of my neuroscience professors. and one of my neuroscience professors, but I also had some experience with him because I was in neuroscience research lab, and had different meetings with him, and him and my PI worked very closely together. So I was able to build a relationship, and he was familiar with me through that. So that's how I was able to also, kind of build that relationship. But it's one of those things where you kind of have to just put yourself out there. I think that the worst thing you could do is kind of just sit back and wait. I got letters of recommendation from people outside of my professors as well, and I think I had a bunch of letters of recommendation. I probably had upward towards like 7 or 8 letters, because I just asked different people from the different activities that I did, and we had something called a committee letter. So basically, they just take the top letters of what I submitted, and they form a pretty much like a master letter or letter of recommendation for me. So I just pretty much just gave them as many letters as I could and let them decide which ones are the strongest. But that's pretty much the best way to go about it. I wouldn't go into something kind of looking for a letter of recommendation. I don't ever try to do that. I always try to go into it with genuine interest and genuine feeling of interest and desire, and kind of just a passion for learning, and then you build a relationship over time. The best thing to do is to get those longitudinal experiences with people. Have a professor multiple times, take their class multiple times. They might have like a 100 level class, they might have like a 300 or 400 level class. Take their classes multiple times, and if you like them and build a relationship with them, they'll be familiar with you, and you'll get a good letter out of it. The correct email is 726@gmail, not 727. Yeah, I answered your question with an essay. Sorry, I just try to be thorough. Thought of vitamin D and COVID-19. There's some correlation data on survival rate. I would love to see the data. Send it in the chat. I'll be happy to take a look. With robotics taking over in many fields of work in the near future, do you think that they'll affect the role of surgeons? Will surgeons ever become obsolete if robots are performing surgeries? That's a good question. Something you think about, especially as somebody that's interested in a surgical specialty. Especially AI and automation is taking over a lot of different things, but I think it's also a positive thing. I think that certain levels of AI, certain levels of artificial intelligence, robotics help medicine grow, help it become a more efficient process, and help us improve our nothing's going to be more accurate than a robot that we program to have a certain GPS that just stops at a certain location, doesn't let you go too deep, too high. So they use a lot of robots already on brain surgery. They use a lot of robots already. I've seen on in like total knee arthroplasties or knee replacement surgeries. So they're in there, and they're coming in hot. And I think that it's only going to help medicine grow further. I don't think that surgeons will be obsolete, because I think that there's just something to that person-to-person relationship that a lot of people go to that you can't really replace with an artificial intelligence or a robot. There's certain levels of just communication, feelings of certainty, being able to give somebody assurance, and just that altruism that being a doctor entails. So I don't think that doctors will ever be obsolete. I think that surgeons their job can only be enhanced, and their work can only be enhanced by robots, for sure. All right, so let me quickly take a quick pause. I'm going to put my other camera back on, so just hold.